Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the House of Grim podcast. I'm your host, Grim Grimes, my co-host,
and Bob,
and our special guest tonight, Rohit Raju.
Yeah, the jaw-jacking, back-cracking, God created all men equal, and then he made me the sequel, the mocha skin manimal, Rohit Raju. And thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh,
man, we thank you
on,
so much, bro. This is awesome, man. Got us a professional wrestler on, man. This is great, bro.
Let me ask
go ahead, Graham.
I was just going to ask, what initially drew you to professional wrestling, and who was your biggest inspiration growing up?
Oh, man, it's weird. Wrestling, it started, my dad was flicking channels, and I saw, like, clips of the Road Warriors.
Okay.
And I was hooked, and then I got into, and I grew up in the '80s, so I grew up in that very special time of professional wrestling. And it's funny because I've been doing a deep dive, and I started out watching Starrcade '85, and I've been just making my way through all the big events, looking up all the big angles that happen, like on YouTube and stuff like that. And then I just finished Starrcade '89. Which that's really my year, but just seeing all of that stuff is it's awesome for me. But no, I saw it and I was hooked. I was a kid, and you hear these wrestlers who are larger than life. They're jacked out of their minds. They look like superheroes. They have crazy gimmicks, and I just fell in love with it. And I never ever fell out of love with it. And I love it, man. It's something I always wanted to do. I used to have like this gray teddy bear that I used to wrestle, and I had a yellow shirt. My mom cut it so it looked like Hogan's. It was like a Superman shirt, and I would record. I would take any videos that she did for schooling. When she was done with it, I would record over it, and I would record myself wrestling this bear and doing all the moves, or at least I thought. And I would do like the voices of like Vince McMahon was coming. Oh my God! You know what I mean? I would do stuff like that, and then I would imitate all the wrestlers cutting promos. Yeah, you know what I mean? We're talking about it. And they were like, Dusty Rhodes here, Daddy, we're talking about the American Dream. And I would just emulate and just copy, and I loved it. And then in high school, we would skip school when like Nitro or whatever would come to it was a civic center at that time, so we could get tickets. And then any wrestling event I'd go to, we'd go outside where the wrestlers would come out, and I would just be cutting promos on guys as they would walk out. And then it ended up spilling into where we were like a group of us from high school were bored, and then we just started recording us wrestling, filming like shows in a living room. And then it ended up going into the backyard. We were doing it in my buddy's basement, and then it started getting into a backyard. We actually had a ring. And then a guy that was reffing for us, he ended up finding Joe Bird, Xavier Justice, and getting trained. And then he's like, hey, you guys, and I was one of the last guys to go because I was working full time. And I was like, man, there's no way that I'm going to have time for this. And I went and I started to pick it up really quickly. And my day off, I would go and I would wrestle. I would go train. And I did that for I think it was 6 months from the summer of August until, I don't know if it was the end of March, maybe March 16th or something like that. And then that's when we were cleared, but I was already doing matches and reffing like in November and December. So, but no, I've loved it, and it's something I continue to love, and I don't think I'll ever stop loving it. There are things that I don't like about it that are very hard to deal with, but being in the ring is like my favorite thing to do. And as far as inspiration, I mean, there was a lot of people, like when I first saw Conan the Barbarian, that's when I knew, I was like, man, I want to look like that. I want to lift weights. How do I look like Arnold? And then I saw Bruce Lee, and I got into Bruce Lee's movies, and I loved, he was jacked and shredded, and I loved the discipline, of course, martial arts, and then of course professional wrestling. But as far as like when I look back at it, my life, I think my mother, because my mother, like my dad left when I was like 3, so my mother held it down, and we were like broke, but we never knew because my mother was always hustling to make things happen. So when I look back at it now, I'm like, man, we were poor. There was that time we didn't have cable for the longest time, and I don't, her car sucked, and I didn't understand why she had a shitty car, or we were eating this type of food, and I never understood that. But she always made sure that we had, even when we didn't. So it was really cool. So when I look back at it now, I'm like, yeah, my mom was. She was a hustler and she worked very hard, so I take that inspiration. But as a kid, I was always looking adventure. It was always like adventure. It was Star Wars, Transformers, adventure, pro wrestling, GI Joe, kung fu movies. My mind was always escaping, with my imagination, and I'm still like that to this day.
That's cool, man. Um, so how did you get your first shot at the big leagues like TNA and AEW? Did you send them tapes or did they reach out to you?
Oh no, they definitely didn't reach out to me. No, my first shot, I went to a Ring of Honor camp with a few people, and we drove like 12 hours. And I remember I did real well. I cut my promo, and Kevin Kelly, I actually just posted a picture of it. I cut this promo, and I remember Kevin Kelly was like, that was an awesome promo. And he took me out in the hallway and he explained the promo to everybody. He goes, this is what I want to see. And then he told me, he's like, hey, I really can't wait to see you in the ring. And I was just in the ring. I was thinking, like, maybe they want to see moves. Maybe they want it. What do they want to see? And I just did character work. And Delirious Hunter was in charge at the time, and he gave everybody kind of like a blanket, hey, good job, you need to work on this, work on that. And I pulled him aside and I said, well, what do I need to work on? He said, well, get in better shape and just continue to work on these little things. And then I went back and they're like, hey, you worked on everything that we told you to, so we have this booking for you here. And then I started doing shows for Ring of Honor. I was almost picked for their Future of Honor tournament several times, but it just never happened. And then I did the Future of Honor there in Kalamazoo, and I actually just posted a clip of that recently. And then against a gentleman by the name of Samson Walker, huge dude. I actually just reconnected with him. Really nice guy. And then I did their first Future of Honor pay-per-view. Um, and then nothing ever happened with Ring of Honor. There were so many times where I thought I was going to get signed with them. Nothing happened. And then I started training at the Can-Am Dojo up in Windsor. This was when Scott, he wasn't with TNA at the time. And then there was a group of us. It was myself, this gentleman by the name of Idris Abraham, Joe Coleman, and Jake Something. We just started going up there because we wanted new stuff. We wanted new experiences, and that was the place to be. And then Scott went back to TNA, and he's like, hey, I have an opportunity. You would be teaming with Idris Abraham, and you guys would be going against Laredo Kid and Garza Jr., Hector Garza Jr. And this was when Jarrett was in charge and Scott was the talent, what do they call it?
Relations.
Talent relations advisor. And it's weird because Scott got us in the door, but it's harder to be considered one of Scott's guys because he's harder on you. So he's way worse on you and doesn't let things slide as if he didn't know you. So
Right.
you really had to perform. And Abe and I did really good, and Jarrett pulled me aside. And I thought for sure, I was like, here it is, I'm going to get signed. And then nothing happened. And then Jarrett left. And then they had the, um, what was it called? It was Global Forge, they were still with Global Forge at the time. And it was the Global Force. I
Hmm.
don't know what they called it, but it was like a gut check.
Right.
And I just went for there was the Pro Wrestling Noah seminar, and Marufuji was there, and the vice president was there. And that's what I went for because I wanted to go wrestle in Japan for Noah. And then nothing ever happened. And they were like, well, you should come and do this. Scott was like, you should come do the TNA gimmick, the Impact gimmick. And I was like, all right, cool. And they ended up winning it. And I was still going by the name Hakeem Zayn at the time. And I remember going to the pay-per-view and I hit a deer and I ended up being late, and I was like, oh my God, and I was supposed to wrestle Ishimori, and I was like, I had so much heat already, and I was like, oh, well, they're not going to use me. And I ended up wrestling Ishimori, not in the pay-per-view, but on the tapings, and I did a few other matches, and I was so nervous, and I just really, I felt like I didn't do my best, but I guess I did well enough because that was in November, and then in December I got a call from Scott, and he's like, hey, we're going to sign you. Next time I talk to you, I'm going to issue you a contract. And then it just went from there. And then they signed a
Awesome.
deal with Sony 6 India, and then they're like, well, we know you're half Indian, so we want to change your name to Rohit Raju, which I was like, I don't know if I want to do that because I don't want to be stereotyped,
Mhm.
but it ended up working out.
Awesome, bro.
So I probably answered several questions all at
Yeah,
once, but
that's
I
good.
figured, why not?
Right, that's good. That answered my question perfectly. Um,
Let me ask you.
yeah, I always wondered how like wrestlers got, you know what I'm saying, like how they would even arrive at an arena.
Mm,
You know, there's always like signs that say like WWE talent this way, or Ring of Honor
Yeah.
talent that way, and then there's always like a security guy or a valet parking guy standing there. So I always wondered how people wrestlers got into the business on that. You know what I'm saying, the behind the scenes aspect of it, I guess.
Dude, it's different for everybody. Some people do get called. Some people, they're killing it on the indies. Maybe they go viral, or you have like you've become an indie darling to which people are like, oh, I really like this guy. This person needs to be signed. And then WWE or whoever will see that. And they're like, oh, this guy has a following. He or she is pretty good. Let's give him a shot. Let's bring him on. Sometimes they'll be so high on talent where you won't have to. Like for Impact TNA, for example,
mhm,
there's people that have wrestled on Explosion. Maggie Lee, she's done a lot of she did a lot of extra work, and she wrestled on Explosion here and there. She was losing, and then she started winning, and then she recently got signed, and she was starting to make a name for herself on the indies. So stuff like that, they can happen. Or if you have, I think WWE really likes to look at athletes, right? So
Hmm.
even if you have like that athletic background, collegiate, professional, they see that. I know a girl, she goes to my gym to where she's like a track star, and she knows nothing about professional wrestling. But they were doing just these tryouts, and one of her friends said, hey, you should go check out this wrestling thing and go try out. And they liked her, and they were like, hey, we really like you, but they liked her because of her background.
Yeah.
And then they told her, hey, go get trained maybe and develop ring presence. And I was going to train her, but then she ended up getting a really good job, I think, coaching track. So at a very high level. So
Awesome.
she didn't, she's doing that now. So it's really different. It's really different. And back in the day when I first started, it was sending in tapes. It was going to shows and just setting up a ring and hoping that you could get a match.
mm.
It was a lot of that stuff. Ring of Honor, I did that a lot. I'd be setting up rings and then be like, Rohit, we have or Hakeem, we have a opening, we're going to put you in the ring with so and so, or we'll put you on pre-show. And a lot of that was what it was. Sometimes it's still like that. Sometimes it's not. Social media is really a huge influence nowadays on getting signed. It really is.
Yeah, you can do so
So
much work for yourself with social media. You know, so.
so
Build your brand. Build your brand.
I also seen you were on AEW Dark.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
a big deal too.
Yeah, I was doing that for a year. When I announced that I had left, that I was a free agent, they actually got a hold of me that night,
Okay.
and they brought me in again. I did a match. They're like, we don't know what we want you to do. We don't know if we want to have you lose yet. If you do lose, you're going to lose to someone that's going to be, you're going to help elevate them. And then I cut a promo and I did a match. And I remember when I got off, they liked it. Apparently, when I got off the plane, one of my buddies texted me. He was like, dude, they loved you. I think they're going to sign you. And then nothing happened. And I was doing just squash matches like twice in a row. And then they started giving me wins. And then I was doing more promos. And then they had me teaming up with a guy that was signed. And then when Dark was going away, they're like, "Hey, I think they're going to use you for Ring of Honor." And then they used me once for Ring of Honor, and then nothing happened. And then the next time they brought me back, Ethan Page was like, "Hey, I want him to be in my promo and let me wrestle him." And they only gave us 3 minutes. And I remember, like everyone was like, "Oh, you guys did great." And then when we went back there backstage, Tony Khan walked up, and Tony knew who I was because he brought me in. He was the reason we know he was the guy that said, "Hey, contact Rohit. Let's bring him in. And then when we got backstage. He looked at Ethan and he goes, "Great job, Ethan," and he didn't say anything to me. And I was just like, "Okay, I'm not coming back here because I know they don't see anything in me anymore." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm good."
Right. Well, that sucks, man. But hey,
Yeah, it does.
when one door shuts, another one opens. You know what I mean?
You'll prove them wrong, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. You definitely
Yeah,
got some talent. So
it's tough, man. It is. It's but like I said, social media is key, and I am not a big social. I do try to stay on it and post stuff, but I mean, content's key, and if you're not getting content from promotions, video footage, pictures, it's hard to post that stuff. Or if you are not, you can see a lot of guys. There's a guy that I know. His name is uh, Big Bishop. He does the thing where he makes fun of like indie wrestlers, or he'll do things where he makes fun of like the promoters, like greasy promoters, shady promoters. There's Jack Vaughn who was making fun of the leg slap.
mm,
These guys went not viral, but they grew their brand
right.
yeah.
from doing stuff like that. Danhausen's another guy. His
Oh, yeah, dude.
promos, his
Mm,
quirkiness, he grew his brand. Ethan Page, before he got signed, he was growing his brand with his vlogs and his backstage stuff and his toy hunts. And he created his brand, and that's honestly that's how you really get noticed nowadays. It's social media.
Sammy
Yeah,
You can be
Guevara, you
great.
know, he.
I sent
Yeah,
Vaughn
you
a
can be really
message.
good. If no one has eyes on you, it don't matter.
Right, I sent Vaughn a message just to see if I could get him on our podcast and interview him. Um, yeah, so yeah, social media, man, is where it's at. That's
Yeah.
where we're lacking a little bit. Is where I am. You know, like I want to try and post things like videos every day, but real life, takes place and work and whatever.
Yeah.
So
It's a job to do. When I watch like certain like podcasts, like very like YouTubers, right?
Mhm.
And it's a job. You have to
Oh,
edit
dude.
it,
Yeah.
make it look good, add the music, do all this stuff, post it here, when to post it. Don't go against the algorithm, all that wild stuff. So
mhm.
yeah, it's a hustle.
Oh, it
Right,
is.
yeah, he got the editing aspect of our channel on and he's getting better at
Yeah, improving.
every day. So
That's huge.
Let me ask you this: how did the Desi Hitman persona come to life, man?
So when they made that group, TNA did. They wanted because they wanted an Indian group, right? So they came up with the Desi Hit Squad, and at the time they had these people that were in the group, and none of them like Bhupinder hadn't even started training yet,
Mhm.
and Vikar, who I never even met. I don't know what happened with that. He never. I think he did when they did a series years ago. It was they did the when they went to India. They did the Rucka King shows, and
Mhm.
so they didn't have anybody, and they brought Gama because excuse me, um, what's his name? Not Scott. Don. Don Callis at the time knew Gama from their days, the Stampede days up in Calgary. So Gama was the first person I met, and they didn't know if they wanted me to be heel or face. So we ended up having me be a baby face, and then with Gama being the advisor. And then they turned me heel like the next set of tapings, and they brought in Gursinder, who now wrestles under the name Rohan Raja, which is funny because when we team up, no one can get it right, which is hilarious. But he ended up going. We were teaming up for a while. We were the original Desi Hit Squad, and then something happened with his visa. I don't know if they didn't want to renew his visa or something. I don't know the whole story. So he ended up leaving, and then he ended up going to NXT UK, and now he's currently the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling champ. Looks like $1 million. I wouldn't be surprised if NXT signed him pretty soon, just because he looks great and he's killing it. But when he left, they brought in Gama's kid, Raj Singh, then we were together, and then they brought in Shira. I think Raj got injured, and then it was just Shira and I. And then COVID happened, and then Shira ended up going away, and that's when they were like, hey, we're gonna make you your own thing. And I was like, sweet, because I was really clamoring to be my own. I feel like I work best when I'm by myself, unless
Mhm.
it's certain tags here and there. And I like tagging. I love tagging with Gursinder and Raj, but I believe, like, I feel like being a singles competitor sometimes is where it's at. But I like, tagging like my hustle and muscle tag partner Zico. That's we kill it too, and But even when he's doing his singles thing, he kills it. So that's when D'Lo Brown was like, hey, you know what? There's no longer a Dacey Hit Squad. Why don't you be the Dacey Hit Man? And I was like, that's great. And it has almost like that Bret Hart flair to
Oh
it.
yeah.
And that's when I started getting the bullet holes on my gear, and it just kind of took off. And I still use it from time to time.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. When I seen you at Pure Pro, man, you look like $1,000,000. I'm like,
I
this
appreciate
guy,
it.
man. Like, I'm like, you could definitely tell that you've been on television. You know what I mean? The way you were performing out there, and man, that's cool that you still come back. You know what I mean, to where you started, and kind of get back, so to speak. That's awesome, man.
I love to do it, and there was a while where I didn't wrestle in Michigan for a very long time because I did everything I wanted to do. I wrestled everybody, and it was not in an insulting way, but for me it was getting stale. I wasn't growing.
Right,
So I was like, I'm not going to wrestle in Michigan for as much as I can, besides for a few people that may get a hold of me. And if they ask me, hey, can you do a show? I will. And then when I left Impact and I left AEW, there were people like, hey, why don't you just start doing shows in Michigan again? And I was like, yeah, you're right. There's new people that I have not worked with at all. And it was like a
Hmm.
whole new crop of talent. So I started doing more shows in Michigan. And I'm happy that I did because there's tons of people that I don't even know who they are, right? And it's not
right,
because, not in an insulting way, but like I don't know them because I hadn't been back in the Michigan scene. And so it is really cool to being able to step in the ring with these people. But also when you see younger people, I love to be able to help other people grow, just like my peers did with me. So I do love getting in the ring with people and just helping them perfect their craft the same way I was helped. It means a
right.
lot.
Well, I can definitely tell you're a down to earth, cool human being, bro. Like, just to talk to you at the show, you know what I mean? You stand there at the table, you took your time to, talk to us, talk to other fans, you know what I mean? And you're just respectful too, you know what I mean? You don't have an arrogant attitude, like you're down to earth, cool as hell, bro. You know what I mean?
I
And
I appreciate that. I really feel like, to me, one of the first big names I met was Rhino. And that's how Rhino was. And in my eyes, Rhino's been everywhere. His name is respected, but he treats everybody with respect, right?
Hmm.
And I'll never forget, like when we were wrestling in XICW, he had to drop the belt to me. He had me kick out of the gore, and then even when I was in Impact and he was there, he would put me over to other guys, and that just means a lot because he doesn't have to do that, and he treats
right,
everyone with respect. And I think you should never forget where you come from. Because there's times when I've been in locker rooms with guys or women that I remember where they were setting up rings and now they have a name and they're just kind of very arrogant and jerks, right?
Yeah.
hmm
And there's times where I do get annoyed and I don't want to talk to people and stuff like that. We're human. But I try to save the super arrogance, the super attitude, and all that stuff for Rohit when I'm out there in the ring and I can turn it up to 10 and take out my frustrations on whatever, whether if I'm a baby face or if I'm a heel, and I can just start talking trash to people and say horrible things. That's when I would rather get that out. And I try my hardest to, if someone's coming to talk to you, they paid hard-earned money. It's like, okay, and even if they don't buy merch, it's like they might buy merch, but they're coming to talk to you because they are fans of your work and they are fans of the show. And I just feel like I remember when I was a fan and I wanted to talk to a wrestler, I was hoping that they'd be cool because when they're
right,
not, it's such a kick in the nuts.
hmm
So I just try to keep that same type of attitude and remember that and remember where I came from because it can always go away in a blink of an eye.
right.
Let me ask this: do you think that Michigan wrestlers who've made it to the big time look out for other Michigan wrestlers?
I would say yes if they think they're worth looking out for. So if you know what I mean, if they
Mhm.
think that somebody is good enough, they will spread the word and say, hey, you should give this person a shot, right? And I would be the same way. I would not put my name on someone if I'm not 100% sure,
Right.
about them yet. However, I would also try to help that person get to that level, reach that level, and help them to where I would be like, yeah, so and so was good for this show, or so and so would be good for this spot or this role or whatever. But I do think there are Michigan wrestlers that will look out for you, but you have to, it can't be just because you're from Michigan. There are no
Mhm.
handouts, and
Yeah.
I don't think there should be. Because someone's name and reputation is being put on you, so you have to be able to represent, and that's attitude, backstage attitude, in-ring work. It goes a long way, and you just don't want to put your name on anyone.
Right. Right.
So, but then again, you also don't want to be a jerk about it. And I feel like, hey, if someone's coming to you for help, I think you should do your best to at least try and help them. And that is something I enjoy, especially when I do the seminars for PPW. It'll be like a month or months before or from the last one, and then I see these people grow and improve. I love to see that, and it makes me feel good because it means they're taking their craft seriously, and I
Mhm.
enjoy that.
Right.
And this bench is killing my ass right now.
What is your goals for the next like phase of your wrestling career?
Dude, I'm trying to get back to TNA, man. It's so hard, and sometimes it's so hard to watch wrestling in a professional way, a professional jealousy, because you see your friends, they're on TV or they are in big roles or they're big in big indies, and you're like, damn. Because I walked away from TNA, I walked away from Impact because the money, and this isn't talking bad about them. It's just
Mhm.
I feel like I needed more money, right, to make the way I was living, just living. I couldn't live off of that, but I couldn't find like a job that would work around that to where I was being able to live comfortably, right?
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, well, my contract was up. I felt like I really upped my game. And so I was like, hey, can I get this? And they're like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, wow, that's not going to work. I really need this to make living work as an independent contractor. And it just didn't work for me. So I walked away, and walking away from that is a very hard pill to swallow because you walk away from it, you probably ruffled some feathers, and now it's really hard to get your foot back in the door. And not because you were being a jerk about
Mhm.
anything, it's just what it was. And now there's not opportunities for you to get your foot back in the door. And there's been plenty of times, like I did the pay-per-view in October, and then I wrestled Leon on Explosion, and I had heard nothing but good things. And I still hear nothing but good things, and I know my name has been mentioned, but the trigger hasn't been pulled. So that is my main thing, is to get back there. But you're not really in their mindset right now, especially with them working with NXT. Like, that's their main thing,
Yeah.
and so you're just kind of floating around in the ether. So it's very tough. I would love to. I reached out to WWE, and I don't know, because I'm an '80s baby, so I don't know if they would figure, oh, you're too old to wrestle, which I don't think I am, but
I mean,
judging by them, who
Gunther is
knows?
like what 40 something. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
Right, but Gunther's name was way bigger than mine, and
yeah.
his following was way bigger than mine. But I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But I've reached out to them. I would love to manage somebody. I would love to be a mouthpiece for somebody, because there's a lot of guys, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, but there's a lot of people that cannot cut a promo to save their life. And I think I could be that next Paul Heyman for some of these
Oh
guys
yeah.
to help them get to the next level, help them get over, help them get heat, whatever it is. I feel like I could be that person. So honestly, trying to get back in the spotlight is my goal. It's been hard as hell. There's been so many close times where I felt like, oh, this could be it, and then nothing happens. So the hustle continues, the journey continues, and then I really do it until the wheels fall off, until I
Mhm.
just can't do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I got faith, bro. I got faith in you. You're gonna be back in Impact. That's for
I
sure.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Now you mentioned working overseas. Is there like is there any like place in particular that you would like to work at?
Japan's the goal. I would love to work for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I know Rocky real well. Not real well, but well enough to where we've hung out, after shows and been in the ring together several times. And I love Rocky; he's the best. And of course, it's hard to get over there. Pro Wrestling Noah. But here's the thing too: if you're gonna go wrestle for someplace like that, you're gonna be over there for a while.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I don't the work life balance. I don't know if I could do that. If I don't know if I'm in a position in my real life to where I could just up and leave for a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a very tough. It's a tough thing. I would love to wrestle in the UK and Europe. I would love to do that. Besides like in Canada or something, I would love to wrestle over there. I got a chance to wrestle in Mexico a few times, which I loved. I would love to go back there. But there's always opportunities. It just has to align right, and you also have to get people to want to fly you over there. A lot of
Mhm.
times they want you to fly yourself over there,
Right.
and then they'll hook you up with several shows. So again, it's a hustle, and the opportunity is there, but with having everything aligned correctly, that's also that has to happen as well. So what do you got? What do you like? Are you guys excited for WrestleMania? Do you
Oh,
watch
dude.
mostly AEW? Are you guys watching?
I mainly
What do you
watch
guys get into?
mainly watch
What got you guys
WWE.
into wrestling? WWE, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think of
So,
the Cena heel turn?
Oh, dude. We were live streaming our reaction.
yeah,
Oh man.
that was crazy.
Did
So,
not see it coming.
I used to go
Right?
to WCW Thunder at the Saginaw Civic Center. I used to go to the
Yeah, I was there.
Palace. I used to go to the Palace for Monday Nitro.
He got lucky
Yeah.
during the Attitude Era. My mom would take him to go see it, but you know,
You didn't get
had
to
to
go?
had to stay at the
He
house.
was much younger.
Oh,
Oh,
you're a little
So,
bit okay. Okay.
so,
No, it's I still like the Cena stuff, right? I'm so invested in WrestleMania, and I try to watch wrestling as a fan as much as I can
mhm.
because I nitpick a lot of things. So I try not to be nitpicky, but then I also watch it and I study. But I think John Cena, whether you like him or not, people are always invested in him,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Whether they're wanting to see him lose or wanting to see him win. And I think he's just such a master on the microphone. Like he transcends professional wrestling. People that I know that don't even watch wrestling, when that happened, they were asking me about it. I'd go to the gym, man, did you see John Cena? He's a bad guy now. And they're talking to me about it. I'm like, he's like the last of that. There aren't too many people,
Mhm.
maybe
right.
Roman's that next guy, but there aren't a lot of people that transcend professional wrestling. The Rock obviously does, Steve Austin, Hogan, Savage, but and Flair does now too. But to me, when I watch stuff like that, and I think Cody's so good on the mic,
Mhm.
I love to see those interactions.
Mhm.
I'm invested and I'm hooked, and it's like, please just hook it into my vein. I love stuff like that. And there was a time
Right.
where wrestling was just really like, I'm like, this is really hard to watch. I
Mhm.
don't know what's going on. Why are they doing this? And even when I watch some AEW, I'm just like, God, this is awesome. These guys are insane. And then I'll watch some of it. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I don't
right.
understand. But I
Right.
try not to be judgmental. But as a worker, sometimes I'm like, I don't understand how this got okayed. But I love the fact that WrestleMania, it's right around the corner, and I feel like a fan. I can't wait to see what's going to happen between Cena and Cody. It's very exciting. Stuff
Yeah.
like that
I'm,
is
I'm
another reason why I
personally,
still love pro wrestling. It still brings out the kid in me.
hell yeah.
I have a
I'm
friend.
personally ready for Retro Slam. That's what I'm ready
Retro
for.
Slam's gonna be
But next
lit.
weekend, April 12th, what
Yep.
is it, the Door Financial? I'm excited for that.
Yep.
There's so many people on there. I don't know what my match is yet. It hasn't been announced, but I'm honestly very excited for that. The last show in Bay City, that crowd was
Oh,
amazing.
dude.
I was so happy to get a chance to perform there again and in such a very high caliber matchup. So I'm really hoping I get something similar next weekend. I really do.
Dude, I
No.
was so nervous to come up to you and talk to you, bro, at that show.
Yeah, dude.
I was so
Ah,
nervous, bro. He's like, come on, let's go talk to him. I'm like, man, hold on, hold on. I was in my fandom for a while, man. I was like, man, this guy's been on television. He's a big guy. Like, this is a big deal, man. We got to get him on. I was just so nervous to
worst
come
people
talk
can
to you.
say is no. You know what I'm saying? So,
Exactly.
but
You know what I mean? Like
there
something
was
that's, but I like this type of stuff. I don't mind doing it at all.
there were so many people that suggested like we check out uh that Bay City show because they were talking about the atmosphere there. That
The
like
crowd,
they're
yeah.
like it's almost like a ECW feel. And
It
man,
really, it
dude,
is.
yeah,
Yeah, it
when
was
we
great, and
got
I
there,
love the fact that they knew all of the wrestlers
Hmm.
with Pure Pro Wrestling. I
oh yeah,
loved that they knew them, and I'm just like, this is it, it's they're invested. And even though
Right,
it wasn't like 1,000 people, it felt like it was 1,000 people because the energy was there from beginning to
yeah,
end, and that to
right.
me epitomizes pro wrestling, right? Like
yeah.
I watched like these old I've been watching like old NWA, like the TV show, and it's from like 86, 87. They do it like in this little TV studio. It looks like there's probably like 30 to 100 people there. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but they're
Oh
invested
yeah.
and they love it. And I'm like, this is pro wrestling, man.
Yeah.
You got the crowd. I love that
Pure,
stuff.
Pure Pro Wrestling's storyline, man. Like from the first match on the card to the main event match, it's all engaging. Like I can sit back and get invested in Pure Pro's story. Like yeah, I'm even checking them out on social media, following on Facebook, what the Misfits are posting on Obsidian and vice versa. I'm watching all this shit that they're engaging with each other. It's very entertaining stuff. It's a very good storyline that Pure Pro's got going.
I love it because I was there when he was just putting this stuff together. And he was trying to get this type of following, and I'm very happy for him because Pure Pro has come a very long way and it's been his baby. And so when I see stuff like this and I see that the school is still going strong, because that's where I originally trained. I originally trained there, and that's where I got cleared. And we were training in a barn, and it was cold, so
Right,
cold. I had triple layers of clothing on. I had hunters packs, the warm up packs in my gloves, and I was wearing just amateur wrestling boots. And then this was in Davison, and then we would go to this place called Archie's, and the food was so cheap there. I would order like 2 meals, and I was eating so much, but I was lighter. I was smaller than I was back then than I am now. So it's like, geez. But like, I'm so happy and proud of how far I know him as Joe, Xavier Justice, but I'm so happy in how far that promotion has come and that they're still going and they're still going strong. So, and the
right.
fact that I can help contribute to that and go back home, so to speak, it really makes me feel good.
See, when we started doing this, we started talking about doing this podcast together. We were more or less talking about WWE and things, just like every other podcast channel that's on YouTube, right? So we're
Hmm.
like, man, we got to figure out a different niche. We got to do something else. And then we end up going to a Pure Pro show and fell in love
Well,
instantly.
we went
Like
to
this.
Yeah.
we went to the Firebirds game.
Yeah, the hockey game. We went to the Firebirds hockey game. We went to together, and they happened to have the ring set up in like the lobby area where you come in, and they were putting on a show there. So I'm like, man, I gotta go to some more of these shows. Like, what's up? You want to go? He's like, yeah, let's go. So then we went to what was the next show? Christmas
Christmas
Clash.
Clash. Yeah,
Yeah, went to
We
that.
were gonna go out to Owasso, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, work schedule or
That's Friday,
whatnot. But
right? Isn't there the show before
yeah.
Yeah.
Retro Slam?
Mhm.
That's cool.
And so yeah, man. So once we started checking out Pure Pro on a regular, going to more shows, we're like, man, it was very engaging for us. Like I could follow along with the stories. I could get invested with the talent. It was just an awesome atmosphere, for an indie show. I was picturing some like DFW bingo hall with maybe 10 people in there, dim lights or whatever. Man, no, I could feel the bass in my chest. I could smell like popcorn. Man, it really felt like we were in like a theater somewhere or a big venue, come to see Monday Night Show or something. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that's where a lot of people come from. Seth Rollins, Ring of Honor was like that. OG
Yep.
Ring of Honor was like
Mhm.
that. Used to run in the State Fairgrounds over there in Detroit, and I remember going to that when I was I hadn't broken into business yet, and it was maybe a few hundred people there, popcorn, hot dogs, but the energy, the talent was so unreal. And you had guys like, Daniel Bryan was there. You had Kevin Steen. You had Sami Zayn when he was El Generico. You had all these guys that are top names now, but that's where they were cutting their teeth at. And when Ring of Honor first started, it was just in a high school gym, and you had Samoa Joe versus Loki versus, it was Christopher Daniels, Brian Danielson, and Loki. I think was the first main event. I could be wrong on that, but it was like a triple threat. But these guys have been on top of the world.
Right.
PPW, they're like that. In Monroe, Michigan, Rhino Show, IWR, that's like that. That's one of the best shows you'll
Hmm.
ever see. You have Sanctuary Fight Club in Detroit at the Sanctuary Bar. It's just a very small bar. You usually have like maybe 50 people there, but they're always hot, and the show's hot from beginning to end. So I used to be the same way. I remember reading in wrestling magazines like, why is Terry Funk or Arn Anderson in some unknown promotion wrestling this guy Sabu? Like, what is this stuff? Or like, who are the Von Erichs? And then when I, started to smarten up to that stuff and realized there was more than NWA and AWA and WWF at the time, I grew, my knowledge grew, my appreciation grew. Same thing when I started watching All Japan Pro Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah, paying attention to AAA, CMLL, just stuff like that. And you start to see like, oh my god! And then you see Rey Mysterio comes up here to the states, and Juventud comes up here to the states, and Kenta Kobashi comes and wrestles at Ring of Honor, and you're just like, oh my god! Or like the Dragon Gate guys come
Right.
and know these guys, and it's just so cool to see that Nakamura shows up in WWE, and you're just like, man, this is so cool. I remember watching these guys here, but now they're here, and they're like larger than life with the WWE machine. It's so cool to watch. So yeah, I'm glad you guys took that step and did that, because there's a whole different world. There's so many guys out there that will never be signed that are awesome, and
Right. A
it's
million
sad.
bucks.
It's sad, but like, hopefully you get a chance to come across those guys. And there's going to be guys that you're going to come across now that will be signed to the Fed or whoever later on in life. So I mean, that's just how it works. It's awesome.
Yeah, we
Is
went.
there? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we went down to Lucha Fiesta where PPW went down to Detroit, and man,
That was a hot
that was
crowd
yeah,
too.
dude. You know what I'm
I
saying?
love to
Like,
hear that.
and I feel like Detroit doesn't get enough credit as like a wrestling city. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear like all the time they're talking about wrestling. Like this is a wrestling city. You hear Chicago be mentioned, New York,
Philly.
L.A., Philly, but
So
Detroit's right up
I
there
was
with them.
I was kind of concerned, like how is Pure Pro, excuse me, how's Pure Pro Wrestling going to sell out this show? It's in Detroit. It's like their first time in Detroit. But I'm like, it's Pure Pro, bro. Chill out. Like they're gonna pack it in. I guarantee it. And sure as shit, man. It was a great
That's
show.
that's so good to see. I'm so happy that's happening. Yeah, there was a point in time when I was wrestling for a promotion called XICW. I really felt like we were doing some really great stuff, and it just we didn't have the eyes on us, and I just, man, that's where I cut my teeth a lot. Like, he'd bring in some of the best names. Samoa Joe was there. I'll never forget that. Carlito was there. And it just, the talent was just top notch. And I've had some of my best matches, cage matches, brawls where I broke my nose, and it's just, man, indie wrestling is so underrated. There's so many
Yeah, it
great
is.
promotions out there. But it's a little bit more accepted now because of social media.
Right.
That's just how it is. So that's a good thing in a way.
Right. Yeah, indie wrestling is where you can go meet that wrestler that you see on TV all the time. It's where you can go meet the
Yeah.
guy that's going to be on TV. You know. But is there any matches that you done in pure pro wrestling that stand out to you the most?
Ah, well, I'd have to say any of my first few matches. My second match there, I took a chair shot. I tried to protect myself, and I got concussed, and my metacarpal got broken because he
Hmm.
hit me so hard it broke. It split it in half,
I broke
and I
that
just
same
taped it
bone.
up. Yeah, and I just taped it up and wrestled
No
that
shit.
night. Yeah, you know what I mean? It just is what it is. Another time I remember I took a superplex and the board hit me in the back of the head, kind of knocked me out a little bit, and I finished the match, but I don't really remember finishing the match. Um, a cage match when I first gigged, that was awesome. I think it was the only time I gigged. Any other time I've been busted open the hard way. And then I think my last match, I want to see it. I'm hoping I get footage of that match because I really felt like it was, we went 20 minutes and I haven't gone 20 minutes in a long time. And I just felt like for me, it was a good accomplishment. I felt good. My gas tank felt good. And also, he was there for everything and being able to, I don't want to say elevate him because I feel like Drake has the talent, but
Mhm.
I do feel like, you know what, I did help elevate him, but I'm not going to sit there and pat myself on the back because
Right,
it
I
takes
get what you're
two.
saying. Right, I get what
Yeah,
you're
you know what I mean? It does take two, but I do want to get the footage of that match. I do want to watch it, so I'm going to have to reach out to somebody and see if it's available because I
saying.
really enjoyed that match. I'm sure when I watch it, I'll nitpick and stuff. That's just how I am. But I really enjoyed it. And so, yeah, I've had some very memorable moments there.
Graham, do we got any of that footage that we could send him from our
Yeah,
perspective?
it's. I think I uploaded it in the test of strength video.
Okay. Well, we'll see about getting you a little file or something and send it
I
over to you. Just
appreciate that.
from like
Yeah,
the
please
fan
do.
perspective, that is. You know what I mean? Um,
Okay, yeah, send that over, please.
Yeah,
yeah, we
you,
got we
you
got a
guys,
bunch of
you
pictures.
guys put on one hell of a match that night. I mean, the whole crowd
Amazing.
was on their feet at the end of that thing. So,
Hmm.
um,
That's honestly a good feeling. So I appreciate that.
let me ask you before we end. I want one final question. What do you
Yeah.
enjoy doing outside of the ring?
I'm a very simple individual. I love obviously going to the gym. That is my fortress of solitude right there. I love hanging out, love being able to the nice weather. We get to go take the dogs outside and take them walking and stuff like that. I love that stuff. And I didn't have not done a lot of gaming last year or this year. Actually, no, last year I did because I ended up playing Jedi Survivor, went
Oh,
back to Red
nice.
Dead Redemption 2. I don't, video games, man. I'm honestly jumped back to physical media, and I've always been a big physical media fan. I'm not going to get into that rant, but after Nintendo's announcing with trying to charge $80 and $90 a
Oh,
game,
yeah.
I always said I used to run a GameStop for 14 years when I was training for professional wrestling, and I always said video games will never die on their own. They'll kill themselves because of their greed, and that's exactly what they're going to do. I know GTA 6, they're saying that might be $100,
Dude.
and it's sad because people will buy these games, but what that will do is open up the floodgates for these other people to try to charge a lot, like, for games that aren't of the same quality.
Mm,
But trying to charge $100 for a game, $80 for a game, plus you're already going to charge like 500 for the system, if not more. It's
Right.
ridiculous. It's
yeah,
honestly
Right.
ridiculous.
I made the jump to PC gaming and built my own PC, and you know,
That's the way to
I've
go,
been
man. Honestly,
I haven't even been playing like big name titles. I've been playing like a lot of like indie games, like
right? Yeah, and that's what I'll do. I'll go to a mom and pop shop and I'll buy stuff that came out months ago or like a year or two ago.
yeah.
Yeah, but I do like to game. I can't wait for summer. I just love to be out and enjoy the weather. I like to watch. Usually, I do my downtime is at the end of the day
Mhm.
after I get everything done. So I will go back and just watch old wrestling, which I've been doing. Usually, if there's like TV shows or movies. And there's a really good movie. I'll go to the theater and I like to enjoy that experience. But there really hasn't been anything too much that's made me want to go to the theater. But yeah, man, just very simple stuff. I love grilling in the summertime. Love to eat. But yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary for me.
Thank you very much for coming on. You know,
You're welcome.
anytime you want to come on, we're more than welcome to have you. So,
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Maybe I'll come on after Mania. We'll talk about the results. What you think
okay,
about
I'd
it.
be
You know
down.
what I mean? Stuff like
Yeah.
that. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll get together after we see how the Cena Cody match pans out. Very interested there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Definitely,
We
consider
usually
that,
we
man.
usually try to do like a live stream watch along with like the pay-per-views and things. We
Yeah, that's smart.
might do something like that for WrestleMania. And if you're available, man, you're more than welcome to join us.
Yeah, I don't know if I know night one I won't be. Maybe night two, but I don't know for certain because I might be watching that at a buddy's. But we'll see if that is. If
All right.
not, we can definitely talk about it afterwards too.
Okay.
Definitely.
Cool, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as always, you'll be entertained. Yeah.